Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Yep, gonna be weird today.
It's gonna be weird.
The show is off the rails and we ain't even started.
We're getting weird. It's been a weird couple, like just been a disjointed couple of weeks for UCSS. Obviously, everything Earl's going through.
Yeah.
And then Ant was out sick. Obviously, they had the remote show yesterday because Anthony was out sick. Director Steve is back today, though. Welcome back,
Look at
Director
that,
Steve.
Look at that, Steve.
Glad to have you back. And Bull is just a selfish capitalist.
He is very selfish.
Gallivanting some bitch.
I can't believe Bull pulled the stunt that he pulled. Like I expect that. I expect these things. That's some Jay Crawford stuff. Like Jay would do that, but Bull,
Did you ever explain what happened with Bull?
We'll give the backstory on Bull. I don't think he'd be mad if we shared this.
No, I don't care if he is.
I don't care. You think I care?
Bull was in Florida on vacation. He went for the weekend.
Just took a long weekend, yeah.
Yeah, just literally Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and he's off Monday, so he's going to come back Tuesday.
He's semi-retired. That dude works less than I do. I don't want to hear anything from him about what little I do because he works less than I do.
So on Monday when he was getting ready to fly back, they had overbooked the flight, and whatever airline offered him an incredible, he called it a king's ransom.
The Godfather offer.
A Godfather offer to get onto a later flight later in the week. They gave him crazy flight vouchers. They comped his hotel. They gave him some food money. And he said it was an offer too good to refuse. So he is still in Florida. He's flying back today. And eventually he'll be back.
All right, hold on. Okay, too good to refuse. Because I've been in those moments.
Yeah.
When they're just desperate to get somebody to take the voucher.
They're looking for the sucker, Dustin.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, sometimes if they really screwed up as an airline, they will go up to a ridiculous number.
I think he got a pretty ridiculous number.
So here's what I'm gonna
He told
put
me,
out.
Dustin,
Oh,
I'm not going to say the number,
stand
but
by.
it was ridiculous.
Okay, well, I'm going to guess, and you're going to tell me if I'm close.
Okay.
Airline credit per ticket up to $2,000.
Not that high, but
$1,500.
you're in the right range.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, so that's
there's three of them.
That sounds.
So
that's so three tickets. Let's just
So
say it's $1,500.
Are you sitting here justifying this man missing work?
I am. Because I
This
I sort of know what we get paid to be here.
This is why you don't take vacations, because if you don't take vacations, you have to worry about these things.
I would do the same thing Bull did for the
I wouldn't have.
For that number, I would too.
I wouldn't have. I got a commitment to be here on that day, and I'm going. As long as I got air breathing through my lungs and my heart is beating, I will be here.
No, and I was traveling.
He'll call us in 10 years, and he'll be totally
yeah, absolutely. Different. Yeah, live a little bit more.
Listen, the way my mother raised me, she raised me to never miss nothing. That's why I never missed school. That's why until I graduated college, I had perfect attendance every year.
Did you really?
Oh my goodness!
Are you serious?
School? That's crazy to me. Like people be like,
never had a sick
people. When I was sick, you know what she said? Go to school.
Wow.
And if you that sick, the nurse will call me, and then I'll come get you. And then the nurse never called. So
we're pulling the kids out of school to go to Europe.
Yeah, you're out of your mind.
We're missing. They're only missing like 3 days.
What is this only miss?
They're only missing 3 days.
Listen,
we're gone for 10. They're only missing 3 days.
You know how after in elementary school, at the end of the year, they do award ceremony. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where you honors, merit roll, all those things. I knew that I was going down there every year because perfect attendance, baby. I was getting something every year, perfect attendance award.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so fast forward as an adult, my mindset, since I've been a kid, this is how I've been wired. So, like, I can't justify missing things if I can actually be there.
Well, you also have another award now for getting old. Director Steve brought you on his first day back.
I don't know what it is. Steve said he missed my birthday, so he felt bad. So he brought me something. And I don't know what it is.
Tyvus thinks it's a bomb.
I do think it's a bomb, but he did make sense. He said that if it was a bomb, nobody would be here. It would just be me. So therefore, he's got a point. Direct.
Steve wants to say something real quick.
So Tyvus, while I was out, I had some very minor surgery done and recuperating, and it kind of gave me time to think about our relationship and how it's very, I don't know why, but it's been very back and forth, very mean. A lot of times I'll defocus your camera kind of stuff. So I felt very badly about that. So I wanted to get you something as kind of a make it up gift kind of thing, plus your birthday and stuff like that. So I just want to apologize for all the stuff I put you through the last.
He's still hopped up on painkillers.
I don't know what this is. I'm scared. I'm kind of scared to open it, but I got to see what it is. What is this? Peppers? Red peppers? Is that what this? Is that really what this is?
Is that Steve's appendix?
Look at this.
What is that?
It's Steve's appendix.
Oh my God in heaven!
Why would he give me?
Oh, that is diabolical. Smell it. Open it up and smell it.
Why would I do that? Is that really what it looks like?
Dude, get it out of here.
This was inside.
What the hell's wrong with you?
What?
Not you, him.
He's sick. I've been trying to tell y'all, Steve is sick. Everybody be talking about, oh, you're just so hard on him. Oh, yeah, Steve is. Listen to it. Why
Put that away, will you?
Here, let's put it next to the bobblehead.
Oh no. Put it in front so I don't have to see it. No, I'm not looking at that, dude.
There we go.
It's just peppers. It's actually not his.
Oh, thank God. I thought it was really the appendix.
No, it's small. The appendix is small.
That's what I sort of thought.
We were just talking about that before the show.
Okay.
Dustin was freaked out.
Yeah, it definitely looks like some sort of a body part.
He's diabolical.
It's like Hannibal Lecter over here.
He's diabolical like that.
Man.
Oh,
Okay.
shoot. Big show for you coming up. We've got Stump Mitchell, former Browns running backs coach, at noon. Daniel Oyefusi, Browns beat reporter for ESPN, will join us live in studio at 12:30. But Mike, first, we've been talking so much about the Browns trading down that you wanted to pivot and go the other way on this, so I'll let you set it up.
Yeah, let's get a read in, then we will get to our first topic. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth-quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. That's FanDuel.com/UCSS for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Okay, guys, so when accepting the Davey O'Brien Award earlier this week, which is given to the nation's best quarterback, Cam Ward had this to say. And Steve, you want to take this full. From Cam Ward, and I quote, "Okay, you're either going to draft me or you're not. If you don't draft me, that's your fault. You've got to remember you're the same team that's got to play me for the rest of my career, and I'll remember that," end quote. We have talked at length about the Browns potentially trading down from the #2 spot, whether it be to #3, to #6, 9, whatever the case may be. But what if the Browns decide that there is one player in this draft that is too good to pass up and too good to potentially miss the opportunity to select at #2, whether it be a quarterback, whether they love Cam Ward and don't love Shedeur Sanders or vice versa, or Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. Jason, is there any chance you could see the Browns trading up to the #1 pick as opposed to staying at 2 or trading down because there is one player they view on another tier than everyone else?
So I actually dug in on this when you threw this out last night because my initial reaction was no. I think my still reaction is no. But I poked around just historically on how often this has happened. So I want Tyvus and Dustin to go, and then I'll come back around with like some of the historical figures behind the idea of a 1 and 2 swap.
So the question is, could the Browns trade up? Let's say Cam Ward was their guy. Would they trade up to 1 to get Cam Ward? Is that the question?
any player.
Anyone.
You could use Cam Ward, for example.
Anyone.
but
Yeah,
yes.
I'll use Cam Ward because that's, or Abdul Carter. I'll use those two. I would say no. You know what? I'm gonna flip. I'm gonna say yes, because if they feel like, listen, this is the thing. The Browns, whether or not we feel this way or not, they in that building may be a little bit delusional, but it's good to be delusional at times. Because I'll take you back. David Njoku, when they was doing Media Row and all those things, David Njoku was out there like, all we need is a quarterback. We just need a healthy quarterback. He said, we're not that far off. He's Miles, stay home. We're so close. And it's funny because we all as a fan base and as analysts, we all watched them last year and we all said, yeah, this team's just not any good. And I think everybody made the decision that they're more than just one piece away, to a fan base. We think that there's a lot more holes than just quarterback. It's a bunch of other things. But if they truly believe that they are just a quarterback away and Cam Ward is the guy that grades out for them like, oh, yeah, this guy is exactly what we need. He can get the thing out. It's not crazy for them to move up to one to go get that guy if they don't think he's going to be there, because they believe that he is the one missing piece. No matter what any of us think, we all think like, oh, no, y'all need this, that, and the other thing. But if they feel like Cam Ward could come in there, plug and play, and everything will go back to being successful like it was 2 years ago, then they would absolutely pull the trigger on moving up one spot to go get this guy. That's my personal feeling.
Yeah, I mean, could they trade up? Yeah, of course they could trade up to number one if their guy, if they feel like their guy they have to have, and that they don't want to let somebody else trade up to one. Or, I mean, Tennessee obviously could take a quarterback. They could take the player that the Browns wanted, but assuming that they didn't want him, it would be just a swap, right? I mean, to guarantee you to be the number one pick and to have that guy.
Yeah.
You just said it. It's happened before. Did you have some numbers to back up like what it would cost?
It actually has never happened that I could find.
Oh, really?
In any sport.
Okay.
I mean, I poured over this for at least 17 minutes last night. But
Which is a lot of time for you.
It really is for me. Like, I had to take a break in the middle and walk around.
You was locked in for 17 minutes?
17 minutes.
That's incredible.
But because when Mike first thought, I thought, okay, well, I'll go back and find some examples and see what the price was, because you just assumed it had to have happened.
Yeah.
I couldn't find any examples. Not in the NFL since I went back to '67, the modern era. Never happened. 1 and 2 swap. A ton of 1 and 3s, 1 and 5s, not 1 and 2. NBA, a lot of 1 and 3s, never 1 and 2. NHL, I know nothing about. I just dug around. I couldn't find anything in the NHL. Mm-hmm. Baseball, you don't even trade draft picks. Up until recently, you could trade compensatory, but you don't even trade draft picks in baseball. So I could not find an example of it happening. And beyond that, only twice in the last 24 years has the number one pick in the NFL draft been traded. Twice. I would think it feels like it's happened a lot more. It happened a bunch in the 90s. There's a ton of examples in the 90s.
In 24 years, the number one pick has only been traded twice.
Twice.
So that
Since the turn of the century, it's happened 3 times. In
Carolina
2001,
did it.
Well, Carolina's the most recent
That's
in
the most
2023.
recent. Yep.
The Titans and Rams traded in 2016.
Yep.
The Rams traded up to get Jared Goff. The Titans received the 15th pick in that draft, a 2016 second-round pick, and a bunch more other stuff that was later on, a future first.
The Titans got a haul for that in pick compensation for it. They got 2 2s, a 3, but they dropped to 15. They went from 1 to 15. This wasn't 1 and 2.
And then the one before that, Tyvus, was 2001 when the Chargers traded the number 1 pick to Atlanta for Michael Vick.
Yeah.
And the Chargers moved down to number 5 and took LaDainian Tomlinson.
So that worked out all right.
I'm about to say they both won.
They both won that one. So it's and when you think about it, it makes sense in a way why 1 and 2 wouldn't really flip, because if you like your guy at 1, you're not going to move out of it.
Correct.
And you're not going to give it to 2 to move up. But in another sense, you would, if you're 2 and you're trying to block 3 from getting to 1, because again, there have been a lot of 1-3 swaps. Mm-hmm. So I could see if you're team 2, if you're number 2 and you're trying to block 3 from getting to 1, why you would go up. But it was just interesting to me that there's never been a 1-2 swap.
Like if Tennessee's fine with taking whoever, then they should be cool with just getting anything for the number one pick.
Well, I
You know
mean,
what I mean?
if the two top choices really is for number one is Abdul Carter or Cam Ward, and the big question mark is what Cleveland is going to do. It'd actually be more funny to me if Tennessee said, we're going to take Abdul Carter. Because then it'll make the Browns be like, all right, well, now because I know you probably didn't think Cam Ward would be there, because everybody at this point is saying that Cam Ward's the consensus number one pick. But if now both quarterbacks are sitting there, all right, which one do you really like?
Yeah.
Like, we'll really find out what you really like.
Yeah.
And is Shedeur really is your guy, or is this all a smokescreen?
No two drafts are alike. Obviously, the number one pick some years, the Peyton Manning year, the number one pick was worth a heck of a lot more than it is this year.
Yeah.
In terms of draft capital and what it would take to move up. I don't know that there's a lot of people this year clamoring to move up to get any of these guys.
The Giants is going to shock the world and
They
trade
might.
with the Titans.
They might. That would be the 1-3 swap.
Yeah.
And we've seen that a few different times. And but to carry out the exercise, I just went ahead and looked like, okay, everybody's got the draft charts, right? Like the trade charts and the value charts. And Jimmy Johnson came up with the original one. It's kind of outdated now. I don't think teams really use it now. Over the Cap has one that I think is really good. It's the Fitzgerald Spielberger. And they're all fairly close. They're all for this, I used the over the cap chart.
Okay.
That Jason Fitzgerald is the over the cap guy. He's really good with all the numbers. And so you might be surprised. What do you think? Let's do it this way. What do you think it would take on? You guys know the chart I'm talking about. With every pick is worth X amount of points.
Okay.
How much do you think to equal the number one overall pick? What picks would the Browns have to give up? What would you have to give up to move up from 2 to 1 to make the points
swap.
match?
You swap picks.
To swap picks. Yep.
I would say one of the thirds, because the Browns got 2 thirds, so a third, and a fourth or fifth.
What do you think?
I don't think it'd take a second.
I think way less than that.
You're right. Would you believe this is just the points chart. To make the points chart match on a 1-2 swap, it would take the Browns flipping 1 and 2 and adding in the 5th round pick they got from Detroit.
I was going to say 5th round pick.
For Za'Darius Smith. It's 167 overall, and that roughly gets you the number one pick is worth 3,000 points on the draft chart.
And our number 2 is worth what, 2,700?
Yeah, about that. 2,650, I think it is, or something like that.
And then the 5th round pick is worth a few hundred.
340-ish.
I tell you what, if that's the case, and if that was really how it went, obviously you got to continue to let this process go out. But I'd say after pro day, if you see because I don't know if they're gonna throw it to combine or not, but after pro day, if he really is the guy, Cam Ward is the guy, or Abdul Carter is the guy, you think Tennessee might, that's worth it.
Now here's the catch: Tennessee don't have to take it. They don't have, a lot of times you have to give up. That's why I'm saying these are just rough guides. This is not a hard and fast system. And each team, or a lot of teams, have their own sort of formulas. So, for example, the 23 trade between the Bears and Carolina when Carolina moved up to get Bryce Young, the Bears received the 9th overall pick, a future one, 2 2s, and DJ Moore. Okay, so they got 9 overall, a future one, and 2 seconds.
Where was they at, 9th?
They were 9th. Just 9 and 61 overall was about equal on the points chart, and they still had to give up all the rest of that to get the deal done. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not a hard and fast rule. This is just sort of guidelines to go off, and not every draft is the same. A lot of teams were clamoring for Bryce Young at the time, and I don't know how long the line is for these guys right now. So this is just.
I mean, I'd do it. I would do it right now. If I'm the Browns, to be able to have that peace of mind to know that you can have
You're
any
in control
player,
of the draft.
Any player in the draft, I think that is something that would be of interest to them. It'd have to be.
Yeah.
I think the Browns feel like they're in a good spot, because I think if they did like Cam Ward and Tennessee took him, then they'd be like, it's fine. Now we're forced to take either Abdul or Shedeur.
Realistically, I think you would probably have to give up a 3.
Oh yeah, like I said,
at least
1, 3, 5.
The points, you kind of have to throw that out, because if you're Tennessee, how can you come out and say we gave up the number one pick for a fifth round
pick?
Yeah.
Do you think the price goes up or down the closer it gets to the draft?
Up.
Like if the Browns wanted to make this trade, is it cheaper to, in theory, let's say Tennessee would accept, is it cheaper to make the deal now or on April 12th?
I think it's cheaper to make it now. Because you're desperate then, and they know you're desperate.
Yeah, I think the price would go up the closer you get, but it's still a matter of, I mean, how many times you heard it, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I know when the Cavs, I'll go back to when I was covering the Cavs the year of the Anthony Bennett draft. And I'm not calling this NFL draft either. I'm just saying. That was a draft that everyone looked at as like, there's nothing great at the top. And they tried like hell to trade out of that number one spot. And they couldn't get the value for it that you've seen in the past. And they kind of got stuck there and had to throw a dart, and they missed badly on that dart. But every year is different just in terms of what's available to you, the interest, who needs a quarterback, how good is the quarterback coming out that year. I mean, listen, if there was a lockdown franchise number one quarterback in this draft, there would be no discussion. Tennessee's not trading out of that spot. Tennessee's taking
this was last year. It's a done deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the reason why the price goes up, Mike, is because right now it's the best because nobody's done the combine, nobody's done pro day yet. So you don't know. Like, you ain't wowed by anything yet. You got to go literally off. You got to trust your scouts' tape. Once them numbers come out, them times come out, like that's when people are like, I like that guy. So that's why the price is going to go up. So that's why if you're going to make a trade, the best time to do it is now before all that stuff comes out. But yeah, I don't know. Like in this draft, I don't know. I feel like 2 is fine. Two is
Jason
fine.
said in the past, and I want to ask you this first, Dustin, but this
Mm-hmm.
is something Jason said, and I think it was on Monday. He said, I don't care what Mel Kiper or Dane Brugler or Todd McShay, I don't care what any of those guys say. I'm trusting my guys in this building. We're paying these guys for a reason. If they like player X, let's just use Cam Ward as an example. It could be anyone. Let's just, for the sake of this, use Cam Ward. If they love Cam Ward, and they don't think he'll be there at number 2, and they think there's a significant drop-off between Cam Ward and whoever else, Dustin, and they did end up trading up to number 1 to select Cam Ward, would you feel more confident that Cam Ward would be a hit because the Browns had clearly targeted him as the guy we got to go up to get, as opposed to waiting for 2 and potentially having the other option fall to you because Tennessee could take the guy you really want?
Yeah, how could you not? I mean, if you're willing to go out there and give up something to trade up for a specific player, then that would, I think, give us hope, optimism, if you will, that Cam Ward's the guy. And if we think Kevin Stefanski can come and turn this thing around this year with his offense, he's going to have the right quarterback, then we'll feel like, at least I'll feel like, that this is the target. They had to have him. They didn't want to risk losing him to somebody else. So now, I mean, the question's still out there. If they do that, is he going to be the right guy? All time will tell. I mean, all rookie quarterbacks are sort of a crapshoot anyway, but it would at least maybe calm our fears that they didn't settle for somebody.
Yeah.
They went after their guy.
Let me ask you two a question. Because this is, as you drive 2 hours, you think about a lot of stuff.
You got a lot to think about. You got a lot of time.
Yeah, you started the show last week with a real deep topic.
Yeah, so you think about a lot of things. And I was watching some Shedeur highlights. And I watched Cam in the past, but I was watching Shedeur today because obviously Cam made the joking comments that he's always checked down Charlie and stuff like that. And I was watching his highlights like, no, he throw the ball, he pushed the ball downfield really good. But the question I have for you two is, and this could be nothing. It to me it don't mean a lot, but it could be to some people. Does his thin frame bother you? Cam is more like Paul's thicker guy.
Yeah, I mean, Cam's
like and Shedeur is kind of slim, and the NFL is very violent. It's a violent game, and those guys in the NFL is hitting a little bit harder. And we understand. I know people was like, "Well, Shedeur had a terrible offensive line. He got beat up. Blah blah blah." It's different. It's different in the NFL.
It's different getting hit.
Trust me. It's different. I did friendly fire in college versus the NFL. Woo.
Getting hit by a grown man. 29, 30, 31-year-old grown
You be
man.
like, good night. So I was thinking about that. Like, what could be a knock on Shedeur? Like, what is it
for sure?
And I was thinking, like, okay, he's a thin frame. Does that scare people away? Because, you know, Deshaun is a thin guy, and you've seen the injuries that he dealt with. Kirk Cousins is a thin guy, and you watch the quarterback, and he talked about he's banged up all the time. Does it bother you a little bit that he's a thin frame?
Yes.
Of course it does, but he doesn't run as much as someone like Lamar Jackson, so I'm not too worried about his ability to hold up as a runner. However, I mean, you still got to hold up taking sacks. I mean, it's a long deal this NFL season. It's a grind. We'll see if he can hold up in the league, but size obviously matters from a quarterback standpoint. I mean, Travis Hunter's skinny too. Like that worries me with and he doesn't play quarterback, but I'm still worried about a guy like that.
Yeah, but for him, it depends. It depends. If he plays wide receiver, it doesn't matter. Because I had this argument with somebody when I was talking about Tez Johnson, the receiver from Oregon. They like, well, he's 5'9" and he's a $154. And I was like, I'm going to be honest with you. I played corner in the NFL. Guess what? Guess who scared me the most? The 5'9", $154. Them quick, shifty dudes, it's hard. And then those guys know that I can't take a bunch of hits. So what they do is they get their catches, get what they're going to get, and they get down. That's how you play a long time in the league. If Travis Hunter is going to be thin like that, he could do the same thing. He can make a killing. Now, if he play DB, I mean, unless you covering like Deion, them offensive coordinators is going to run crunch to the bunch. They're going to bunch that whole formation up, block everybody down, have that running back come off sides. It's going to be you and him, and you better make the tackle. If you don't, it's a touchdown every time.
Real quick, I went back and looked because I thought you had an interesting point about the date and does the price go up or down as you get closer. And just the fact that we are pre-combine at this point, we are really early in the process.
Yes.
So in 2023, the Bears-Panthers trade was made March 10th, right off the combine. So that was right after the combine.
Yeah.
I think it would almost be foolish to try and do something now before you really get your hands on these guys.
Yeah, you don't know.
And then the Jared Goff trade, or the Titans-Rams trade that resulted in Jared Goff, was mid-April. So and the price was exorbitantly higher in mid-April. But again, that was also, you know, you had Jared Goff and you had Carson Wentz at the top of that, two quarterbacks that I think at the time had a lot of interest, a lot of teams. It'll be really interesting as I think about this. I leave Sunday night for Indy. I'll be at the Combine next week for a couple days.
Must be nice. You know, I hated the Combine.
Why?
Did you hate the Combine?
Of course.
Okay.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
You get poked and prodded like a piece of meat?
Yeah, like it's really sick.
It's really an inefficient 3 days.
It's really sick.
For guys like you who were mid-round guys.
Oh, no.
Was
That's
it like
being generous
I'm being nice.
for him.
But I mean, but both you guys went in there thinking like, this is my life.
Yeah.
My life will be determined by these next couple of days.
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
The pressure, because like if you're at the top of the first round, they ain't even working out. Like they ain't doing anything. They're coming in and maybe talking, and that's it.
Yeah.
But for you guys, that's life changing.
Yeah, I tried to make sure I did everything correct. I think the whole thing of the Combine, to be honest with you, is to put you under so much duress and stress to see how you perform. Because that's what the NFL is.
Yeah.
You're going to be stressed out. It's going to be duress. It's going to be a lot of adversity that you got to face. Can you still go out there with little sleep, not a lot to eat, having to know that you got to perform at a high level? Can you still get those things done?
Yeah.
It's like the CIA,
really
they put you at the farm, right? They take you through all these things and just to test your mental capacity, adversity,
pretty
all
much
these
what
things.
it is.
How do you fold when the pressure's on? I mean, it was exhausting, not just from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint. You barely sleep.
You get like 6 hours of sleep in 3 days.
If that,
Yeah.
and you're waking up checking your alarm. You don't want to oversleep.
Nope.
Like,
you got to do the P test at 4 in the morning on the first
and they're blowing
night.
the horn for every 15. Did they do that for you guys? The air horn?
Yep.
The rotation. Man, it was exhausting. It was good. It was good, though. I mean, I jumped and ran well there. So
I ran and I
good.
did everything that I thought I was going to do. So I ran well.
Combine
help
helped me.
Helped you? Did it help or hurt you? Or have no
It did
impact?
nothing for me.
Did nothing.
I'll tell you what, though. It's crazy because as a kid, like I used to watch the Combine every year.
Yeah.
Man, I was like, I can't wait till I get to the Combine. You get to the Combine, I can't wait till I get out of here.
Yeah.
I can't wait till this is over.
Well, last thing on this, and we'll move on. But I'm curious now, as Combine season is here, and I'm headed to Indy. The whole league is going to
What's the first day? Monday? Or when they?
I get it confused because I go.
Because you got to wait, like, you don't perform until, like, what, day 3, day 4?
Yeah, I think the athletes is later next week. I'm going early in the week. We have meetings for the athletic. We have staff-wide stuff, all-day meetings on Monday. And then teams, GMs, and coaches talk, I think, Tuesday and Wednesday. And then we get into the athlete performance a little bit later in the week. But I'm just curious. There's a narrative on this draft right now. How much is the narrative going to change? And that's a question for another day. It's a topic for another day.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking about this now. How much is the narrative going to change on these quarterbacks and what we're saying about them post-combine as opposed to pre-combine?
Look at Anthony Richardson and Zach Wilson as the perfect example. Those guys weren't talked about in nearly the same light before their pro days. Not necessarily the combine, but you had Anthony Richardson hit the ceiling on a throw that he intentionally tried to hit the ceiling with. And next thing you know, that was blown over on social media.
Yeah.
And he was the next hot thing. And Zach Wilson hit the running throw across your body 70 yards that you would never do in a real game. It's a Madden throw, but it looks great when you're wearing T-shirts and your receiver's not going up against anyone and there's no pass rush. And they both catapulted to the top.
And
5.
you know who that fools and who falls in love with that stuff?
Fans.
Owners. Not the GMs. The GM, maybe some GMs get fooled by it. Owners get fooled by
At the end of the day,
it's that kind of stuff.
At the end of the day, all that is nice. But when I press play, always believe what you see because
That's right.
the tape does not lie.
Yep.
The combine will. The tape does
Yep,
not lie.
You're right. All right, Mike.
We're going to get back to the Browns in a little bit. G. Bush did an Ultimate Browns show yesterday talking about why Travis Hunter could actually be the best pick for the Browns at number 2. It's on our YouTube page. Make sure you go check it out. We'll be talking more Browns throughout the day with former Browns running back coach Stump Mitchell and ESPN's Daniel Oyefusi coming up in a little bit. But now let's pivot to the Cleveland Cavaliers. They get back into action tomorrow on the road against the Brooklyn Nets. But I want to focus on something kind of more big picture for today's discussion. After the playoff series lost 2 years ago to the Knicks, and then at certain points of last season, you could look at parts of the Orlando series, the end of the playoff run. But the Cavs have been hit with this proverbial soft label. Fair, unfair, up to you to decide. But over the last about 2.5 weeks prior to the All-Star break, there were a couple instances from the Cavs that may have shown a change of narrative when it comes to them being labeled as soft. We saw Tristan Thompson basically try to fight the entire city of Toronto after a last-second dunk at his hometown. We saw Jared Allen get ejected for setting a aggressive screen on Asard Thompson of Detroit after he said he was slapped in the face, and that was his payback. Darius hit the game winner in that game and then started talking some smack to some courtside fans. And they also traded for DeAndre Hunter, which gives them a 6'8", small forward who looks like he's chiseled from Egyptian gold. Dude's built like a tank. It looks ridiculous. So, Dustin, are the Cavs starting to shed this proverbial soft label, and does it really matter if they have that label or not come playoff time?
I don't think the label matters. I think it matters how they respond and how these guys interact on the court. And I don't think they're soft right now. I think they were considered soft before because they were a pretty good regular season team that made it to the postseason and got pushed around. Period. I mean, it was really just one series. I mean, it was just the Knicks, right? I mean, the Knicks were the team that bullied the Cavaliers, and I feel like that's not going to be the case this year. I think Evan Mobley is a big reason why, because he has taken his game to the next level. I think he's playing with more confidence. He's certainly put on a little bit more weight. He seems to be a little bit more physical in the paint. The one player that I was more concerned about was Jared Allen, because Jared Allen just seems like he's so happy-go-lucky on the court and such a nice guy that you want to see a little bit of a mean streak in him from time to time. I'm not saying he's got to be like in people's face, but his toughness needs to shine through, and it does at times. But I think it's Mobley that's going to be the catalyst to keep the team on that path. Tristan Thompson, that fight, I mean, Tristan's the 19th guy on the bench. You know, it's great to have somebody like that on the team. You know, we've had that in the past with guys like Kendrick Perkins and other enforcers that were, just on the roster for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Who else was here? Dante Jones was here for a second. Morris was here. So, yeah, I think that's sort of the role that Tristan Thompson has. But I'm not too worried about the soft label from the media. Maybe the national media are saying some of that. But honestly, if the team wins, you're not soft.
It's a fact.
No one says no. I mean, like the Golden State Warriors, I thought they were kind of a little bit of a finesse team.
Yeah.
Right.
You could get into them.
Right.
You
You could
could-
get into those guys a little bit, but they won. So like, talk shit to them, but they still win.
Yeah.
Nothing you can say at the end of the day.
Draymond wasn't soft, but some of them had.
No, he was not soft.
I would say out of that list you put up, 2 out of the 4 is completely irrelevant to the narrative. The Tristan fight and the trade for Hunter is completely irrelevant to the narrative of soft because, one, Dustin's right. Tristan is on the bench, and Hunter wasn't here when we were throwing off the soft narrative. So you could scrap them 2 from the list. The other 2, this is the thing, okay? Those things don't make you a tough guy. You know, that don't make you necessarily tough. The reason people call the Cavs soft is because of the physical play and getting bullied and all of those things. And when you went up against the Rockets, that's what happened. And till we see that on the court to where your guys aren't getting pushed around, they'll always have that narrative that you guys are soft. That's just what it is. You know, talking trash to fans, that make you even worse, actually, because you're not talking stuff to the person that's across from you. You're talking to a guy that's in the stands. So that's even worse. And then setting a hard screen, okay, but what about when the rebounds go up? What about when you get that ball in the paint and when you put your shoulder down in somebody and go up? That's what we want to see. That tells me that you a dog. So setting a screen on a guy that's not paying attention and hitting him on the ground, like that's, yeah, anybody, how many times has somebody lost a fight where that guy wasn't looking and I stole on him and dropped him? That's not make you tough. So a lot of that stuff, the 2 things that I left on the list is irrelevant. It's all about the style of play on the court. And once we see those things, which you still need to clean up, yes, Evan Mobley has taken some great leaps and bounds. But the rest of them still got to step up. And I think you're right. If you get to the playoffs and you win these games, one, you're going to have to see some of these teams. Some of these teams think that they're going to be physical with you. So if you win those games, that lets us know that you are able to match their physicality, and that's how we know you got tougher. And if you win the championship, all that other stuff is irrelevant anyways. You won the championship, they can say whatever they want, but tell them to kiss the ring.
Mm-hmm. The soft label, that's, I mean, the Cavs are wearing that, and it's not going away until the playoffs. It doesn't matter what happens in the regular season. If Mitchell Robinson and the Knicks get paired up with the Cavs in the first round, you think the Knicks are going to be intimidated by the Cavs?
Not at all.
You think Mitchell Robinson's going to be scared of Jared Allen?
No, he going to talk trash
He's
about
going to do exactly
Mo.
what he did. He's going to see. It's Tyvus, you and I talked about this in football. You keep running the same play until they fix it.
Yeah.
And in the second half, you keep running it again until they fix it. Mitchell Robinson's going to do the exact same thing until Jared Allen fixes it. Man, you almost knocked Steve's appendix off.
Did you guys move it? I can't see it, thank God.
So there's nothing they can do in the regular season that's going to change that.
No.
And the one thing about, like, are they still a soft team or not, the thing that's going to haunt Jared a little bit was the Knicks series 2 years ago, and then last year with the stuff with Orlando and the cracked rib and not taking a shot and missing essentially the rest of the. Mm-hmm. So that's he's gonna wear that until he doesn't, and the way to fix that is this postseason.
Yeah.
And this coming playoff series, and if they do get matched up with someone like a Mitchell Robinson. I thought the screen that he set the other night, it was like you could almost see it on his face of like, I'm done with this. I'm tired of this. Get out of here. And that was great to see because you need to. Mm-hmm. Like, you need to do that. There are times where you have to tell a guy, like, listen, I've listened to you all night. Be gone. I'm done with you. And the part with Tristan, it's interesting because you're right. Tristan's not going to play a role on the floor. But part of the reason I believe Tristan was brought here was to sort of get this out of Evan. And I talked to some of the coaches last year about that, about trying to bring that aggressiveness. I'm not saying I'm not going to credit Tristan for Evan's evolution this year, but I know that was one of the things last year that they were hoping that Tristan, the fact that Tristan will come into a guy and be physical with guys, mm-hmm. they wanted to try and evoke that out of Evan. And I do wonder if there's something to it of just being around Tristan now for over a year.
Oh, yeah.
If that has helped Evan spark some sort of aggressiveness. Again, I'm not trying to give Tristan credit for Evan's development, but just seeing how to play more physical and be more demanding
100%.
and be more demonstrative and give me the ball. Like,
I think that 100% happened. You start to adapt the mentality of the leaders of that room. You know, the guys that you look up to, the veterans. I know I did when I went to the LOB. I could. If you even was timid a little bit, those other guys, they ain't like that. So therefore, you can't be like that at all. And man, they turned me up. So yeah, you definitely adopt that mentality of the guys that you are around a lot. And I think that definitely helped Evan. That's why he's aggressive now, and that's why he goes up and he dunks on people and stuff like that.
The coaching points on Cavs opponents on the whiteboard in the visiting locker room in a postseason series is going to say, be physical with them.
Oh, yeah.
Get into them defensively, meet them at the half-court line,
Yep.
and push these guys around until they prove that you can't.
And we've seen that at times this regular season. Houston, who's physical with everybody, got the best of Cleveland because they tried to out-physical them.
Indiana did.
Indiana did. They went the full-court press, tried to make things physical. Oklahoma City tried in both games. They had tremendous success in Oklahoma City in that blowout loss.
The Dortcher
They
chamber.
tried in the first game at home, and Cleveland still put up 129 on them. So hit or miss in terms of the success this season. Jason, I agree with you when you say nothing in the regular season is going to completely change that narrative. It's
No.
only going to come when they do it in the postseason. But Jared Allen kind of snapping against Detroit a couple weeks ago.
I love it.
Was incredible. And it's the second time in 2 years I can remember. It maybe happened a third or fourth, but remember he pushed Ben Simmons last year?
He went after him a little bit, didn't he?
He went after Ben Simmons,
Yeah.
pushed him, got ejected in that game against the Nets, and I don't remember what instigated that situation. Simmons had done something, and he kind of snapped. And Jared Allen is as docile as a player we've been around. Jason and I in the locker room all the time. He's a cat guy. He plays Pokemon Go. He reads. He writes poetry. There's nothing wrong with any of that, but he's his own unique guy, a very docile, mellow guy. Not the loudest guy in the room by any means. I don't think he likes talking to media because he just wants to be himself, be in his own world. But to know he kind of has that switch, and we've now seen it happen twice since that playoff series, and it didn't happen at all in that playoff series,
Right.
gives me at least a little bit of hope that come the playoffs, come a matchup with Mitchell Robinson, come a matchup against Giannis or Brook Lopez, if they start giving him kind of the business again like we saw 2 years ago, he can switch it on and give it back in ways that he wasn't capable of in a couple of years prior.
It's a long fuse with him. It's a very long fuse, obviously. And it's funny because the two instances you just mentioned sort of came out of nowhere. When he went after Simmons and then the screen he set against Detroit were sort of like, whoa, where did that come from? And maybe it's just because we're not used to seeing Jarrett react that way. And also, I mean, you guys know this. You can't be phony about it. You can't be fake about it. And you can't try and be fake tough because guys will see right through that.
Yeah.
They'll eat you up. So you can't just suddenly show up with a neck tattoo and and totally change your persona. But you have to stand your ground.
Jared is gonna have to at some point make people respect him.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. They're gonna if they play the Knicks and it's Mitchell Robinson, like at some point it can't be no cheap stuff or nothing like that. It's gotta be give me the ball and watch me go to work.
Yeah.
And I got to go finish strong.
And
so Mitchell will be like, okay. Like it got to be that. Like, okay.
One day I'm telling you, he's going to come out there.
It just snap.
No. The afro's going to be gone. It's going to be cornrows. and he's going to be he's going to be mean mugging dudes. Just look like a different guy, man. No, I mean he is a nice guy.
Yeah,
I was on a flight.
That's the worst compliment. That's the worst thing somebody can say about you in a sport.
It's not a bad no.
No,
it's
but
not a bad
I'm
thing.
like,
it is.
like, dude, I was on a flight with him. I wasn't flying with him, but I was on a flight that he happened to be on. He was in first class or whatever. We were not too far behind him, and he was just like this. I mean, he's 9 feet tall, and he's enormous, but like he was just so nice, and like everybody, no one even bothered him. I mean, obviously everyone it's out of Cleveland, everyone knows who the guy is, but no, it was pretty cool, humble guy. Like, I mean, wasn't he the one guy who said he doesn't spend money on anything, basically?
Yeah,
like no jewelry.
He's very simple. He the year the All-Star was here, the All-Star game, All-Star weekend was here a couple years ago.
It's a great story.
He walked out. Did I tell you? Did you know the story?
You told me this story.
When he
I don't think you
walked
told
out
me
with
that.
the little polo. And
No, he just walked out the exit. Like walked through the fans. This had to have been All-Star Saturday night, I guess. It was All-Star Saturday night. And I think I tweeted about it. I think there's a tweet out there somewhere where I'm standing in the foyer, the whatever, around the 100 levels. And Jarrett just goes walking out the door with like a bag over his shoulder.
Shop?
Yeah, just
Shop?
like he's one of the fans that was enjoying All-Star Saturday night. He just walked out the door, and I was like, they have exits for you and like security, and I'm sure
in like your car downstairs.
Yeah, like heated and right next to the door. What are you doing?
You probably parked across the street in the public lot for $100.
Took RTA.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of pictures of Jared Allen when Pokemon Go was a big thing. He was bopping around the city with random people playing Pokemon Go. Like
That's
he's
still
his
a
own
thing?
He's his own dude, and there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, I'm about to see.
And it's not just the Knicks.
Pokemon in here.
It's not just, Orlando again. Orlando, if they get paired up with Orlando again, I would pick the Cavs to win that series. That would be a physical, tough series. It was last year. It will be again with the Wagner
brothers.
They got to be healthy. Like Orlando has to be
Mo's
healthy.
out for the season.
Yeah, well, that's true.
That's the one everybody hates.
So, but it's more than just one team that can get into these guys a little bit, and we'll find out in the postseason.
Don't they play the Grizzlies like soon?
Yeah, they have
Sunday.
to.
They play the Knicks Friday at home, and then they're at Memphis on Sunday. Memphis is a tough team, too.
Whoa. They play the Knicks tomorrow. The Nets
Nets,
tomorrow, the
Knicks.
Knicks Friday, and then the Grizzlies Sunday?
Yes.
Sheesh.
It's back on the grind, man.
Sheesh. Good
The
night.
Cavs have, I mentioned this yesterday, but they have, 5 back-to-backs and 3 5-7s in the last 28 games.
Sprint to the finish.
I see. 20
March is a gauntlet from a schedule standpoint. It is every year. We talked about it last year, and that's when Donovan got hurt. Then Evan sprained his ankle for a little bit. Health is going to be a giant priority for these guys down the stretch.
And people will panic. They'll have a couple bad losses, and people will panic.
Oh, Sunday they're home against Memphis, not on the road. My apologies. They are home Sunday night versus Memphis.
They're home Friday and Sunday.
Correct.
But every March, we went through this every year when LeBron was here. There would be March, and the building was on fire. And then by middle of April, the fire is out, and they're going back to the finals. So it happens every year. There'll be an overreaction to a couple bad losses in March. Just prepare for it. Deal with it.
Last thing before we move on, anyone who says the Cavs aren't getting enough national attention, 6 of their first 8 games in the second half of the season are on national TV. 4 on ESPN, 1 on TNT, and 1 on NBA TV.
You got back-to-back
6 of
games
the
on
next 8.
ESPN this weekend.
Yeah, Friday, Sunday, back-to-back ESPN
Okay,
games.
got it.
So,
What
and
are
7
you
o'clock
doing?
tips.
I'm
He's
catching
playing
a
Pokemon.
Pokemon.
What is wrong with you?
We're doing a
I
television show,
I wanted to see if one was in there. I just caught one.
In the studio?
Yeah, he was right here, right where
I've
this
never
camera
in my
was.
life played Pokemon.
Familiar,
Magnemite.
too.
Magnemite.
I've never.
I saw read
See
an article
that?
yesterday.
Bang, got
They,
him.
they were using the Pokemon Go to build some sort of, how like Google has pictures of everything because like Google Earth or all that
Yeah,
stuff. So
yeah.
there's some sort of technology. They were just basically using everybody's going around to find these Pokemon characters, and now they have like all this data from everybody.
Jeez. Did you ever Google your own house? Google Earth
Oh yeah,
your own house?
it was Halloween.
Oh, was it?
If you look at my house, it was because we have our decorations up.
Oh man.
All right, let's move on. If you want some more Cavs talk, Jason and I did an Ultimate Cavs show yesterday morning. We talked about the biggest storylines for the second half of the season for the Cavaliers. You can find that on our YouTube page. Just search Ultimate Cavs.
We gotta get a new picture. I'm tired of looking at that thing.
We will, when Anthony's not dying of a deathbed of a fever, we can get you a new picture that is
he any
easy
better?
enough.
He's still
he
pretty
said his
rough.
fever was worse than it was yesterday. So
Sheesh.
we will find out when he's back. But you can find the Ultimate Cavs show from yesterday on our YouTube page. Back to the Browns we go, guys. ESPN released an article yesterday with the best fits for the top 50 free agents this summer. And one of the top 50 was scheduled or slated to be a perfect fit for the Cleveland Browns. It's not a name that I had thought of beforehand, and frankly, you guys will give your opinions. I don't necessarily agree it's a perfect fit. So, Tyvis, we'll start with you. Is JK Dobbins a perfect fit for the Browns in free agency? ESPN said he was. What say you?
Perfect fit? I don't know about a perfect fit. I mean, it'd be nice to, have a running back. To be honest with you, J.K. Dobbins, it was great to see him come back. I mean, he's always been an explosive athlete, but I felt like at times last year, I don't know if he got that long speed anymore. I feel like he got run down a couple of times last year, and that kind of bothers me a little bit. I feel like Jerome Ford and him is pretty similar. I would say that JK is more explosive than Jerome Ford is, as far as like point of contact. JK, you better get your pass down a little bit. Obviously, they call what G called Jerome Ford? Bambi. He calls him Bambi. So obviously, that's the biggest difference there. I think that there's other things that need to be fixed. You know, the run game obviously is very important to the Browns' success, and I think he'll be good there. But I wouldn't say it's a perfect fit. Like I would address the running back position in the draft if I was the Browns.
I mean, he made $1 million last year.
Yes.
You know, so he's not going to get much more than that. But the Browns need a running back, and he's a guy that obviously is a very, very talented guy. We all know him well because he played at Ohio State. Don't love the Ravens thing because they got him, but no, I think he got himself back on track last year with Los Angeles, and I would love to see him here in Cleveland. Now the guy has had the worst luck of like any player in the league, so you have to feel for the guy because he's battled an ACL, maybe even a couple of different knee injuries, an Achilles in there, like really devastating injuries for a running back, and to see him to be able to bounce back after having all those things says a lot about the player's ability to handle the adversity. So the toughness he brings to the table, he's a Buckeye. Obviously, we're Ohio State guys, so I'm all for that pick or for that move.
I loved him as a player at Ohio State. I love the Ravens. I mean, I hear what you're saying. I thought he was a perfect fit for the Ravens.
Oh, he was. He was. I mean, just because I didn't like he played for the Ravens, but I mean, it was a good fit.
Sure, and it's really sad what's happened to his career because he could have been phenomenal. Yeah, NFL running back. But the reality is he's never had 200 carries in a season. In 5 years in the NFL, he's only got 400 carries. You can't count on him. And he had a great year last year. I mean, certainly by his standards, it was a great year. He still didn't rush for 1,000 yards, 900 yards, and 9 touchdowns. So he missed the 1,000 yards. He was hurt again, missed a couple games. And I don't know what you're solving by bringing him here. You're not going to have him and Nick Chubb. So you're basically using Dobbins to replace Nick Chubb. Would you rather have Dobbins than Nick Chubb? I'd rather roll the dice on Nick Chubb. And maybe that's just the sentimentality of the whole thing.
It is.
But, I mean, we'll have Stump on in 10 minutes. Stump's a big believer that Nick isn't done and Chubb still has something to give. We can ask him about it. But I would rather take another chance, I think, on Nick Chubb.
I think the city of Cleveland would rather take another chance on Nick Chubb than go with JK Dobbins. Even though I think both can be very good for what you need. If you're talking about running backs that can come in, they're not going to be quite what they once was, but you can still get some things done in the run game. Those two guys are both running backs that linebackers and defensive coordinators will have to respect, whether they are in their prime or not. You still got to give them that respect. Like, all right, we got to address this run, especially if that offensive line gets back to what it once was. So, like I said, I'm good either way with it. I think that I don't know what his contract demand is. You say he was getting paid $1 million last year. Think it won't be more than that.
He'll get a bump. He stayed relatively healthy.
He'll get like $3-4 million.
Yeah,
and he'll be.
I believe that running backs in free agency this year is not going to get their first shake because the draft is so loaded with running backs.
That's where I was going to go.
Now, if you don't get your guy in the draft, boom! Now you come back and circle back and go get one of them.
The Browns have to take a running back in the draft.
100%.
Yeah. I don't care what round.
Between that and the edge rusher, they say edges and running backs is loaded in this draft.
Tight end.
And tight end.
Oh, yeah, a lot of tight ends.
Well,
Kevin's getting
the tight end. I mean, you could easily find starting running back in the fourth round.
Yes.
Easily.
Yeah.
And
they got 2 third-round picks. I feel like one of those third-round picks should be a running back.
Yeah, it could be. Will we see a running back go in the first round?
Yeah,
Ashton Jeanty.
Yeah, true.
He'll be a first-round pick.
Will Travion Henderson?
Where's my boy Cam Scatterbo going to go, man? I want that guy.
I think he'll be an early second-round pick.
Henderson?
Give me some Cam Scatterbo, man.
He's fun.
He's fun.
He matches Cleveland's demeanor.
Yeah,
Peyton Hillis.
Yeah, he's better than Peyton Hillis.
We're going to wrap this up a little early because our next guest is in the queue, and I don't want to waste any time before we bring on our very special guest. So we'll get to Stump Mitchell after a quick word from our presenting sponsor today, FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for bigger payouts, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. That is FanDuel.com/UCSS for your one shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And with that, we are thrilled to welcome in former NFL running back, former Cleveland Browns running back coach, Stump Mitchell to the show. How you doing today, Coach?
I'm good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, Stump, let's just keep going right where we left off. I don't know how much of it you heard. ESPN picked JK Dobbins as a perfect fit for the Browns. I don't know that I agree with that. I think I'd rather take a chance on Nick Chubb and see what he has left rather than bring in Dobbins. I'm just wondering where you stand on that. Do you think Nick has anything left in the tank in his NFL career?
Listen, if you go back and take a look at the first touchdown run, you'll see Nick got everything to offer to the game. He is, even though it was only a 2-yard run, he was able to make a quick stop, a jump cut, and then get in the end zone. This year, I don't think anything, success or lack thereof, can be contributed to Nick. The offensive line, those guys really didn't have a chance to perform the way they were capable of performing because they were in a brand new system. And the thing about the offensive linemen, not pointing fingers at them, but those guys came back unhealthy. Most of the spring, those guys were still trying to get healthy. Now you start off the season, everybody that you're playing know those guys haven't practiced a whole hell of a lot. They're trying to learn a new system. They're at a disadvantage.
All right, I want to follow up on that real quick. You know the blocking scheme better than anybody and what they were doing when Bill was there and what they were trying to accomplish last year. Can you just explain what happened last year with the line? You talk about the injuries that they had, and they did. What everyone knows Bill Callahan's wide zone scheme. What were they trying to accomplish last year? Because at some point about midway through the year, Mike Vrabel became the de facto offensive line coach. What happened to the run game in the offensive line last year?
Well, listen, those guys had been doing that for the most part. I think everybody that was on that line that really played was in that system for at least 3 years. So they needed to understand the health or lack thereof of those guys that were returning. All right. Those guys did not have a whole heck of a lot of time to practice the new scheme that the offensive line coach was putting those guys in. It was unfair to them, but more so talking about being unfair, it was unfair for that offensive line coach to be fired after 1 year because those guys didn't have the success that they needed. They didn't have the success, not because they were not talented enough, but because they didn't have the time to, they didn't have the reps in the system. So, you got some guys wide reaching. They've worked those combinations together, but now you got a new system and they had not worked those combinations. They saw them on video, but it was totally different from what they was doing. And once they started off, the defenses knew they didn't have any reps. They was just getting upfield and taking advantage of a lack of practice that they had at doing those things.
So Stump, obviously, you've played the game, you've coached the game. We got it. Like I'm a big fan of you. I think you're a heck of a coach and all that good stuff. Great beard. We got to get into that a little bit too. But the name Stump, I don't know the story behind it. Maybe it's been told. Maybe it's been told 5,000 times. Do you mind telling it one more?
No, not at all. I started playing football at a young age, but I always played with guys that were 2 or 3 years older than me. So therefore, they were much bigger. They were taller. But I got in a fight with my brother who was a couple years older. He's passed, and he was bigger as well. And he told my mother, you better come get this little dude before I beat him down to a stump. And then everybody started calling me Stump since that day.
Stump, when you look at your career as a running back, What sticks out to most of you? What is the one thing that you're most proud of about your playing career?
I'm proud to know that Ace Parker, who was, as you all know, a great baseball player, also a great football player, a great coach at Duke in baseball and all those stuff. Ace Parker was also a scout for the St. Louis Cardinals, and he convinced the Cardinals to draft me. He told them that I should have been a second-round draft pick back in 1981. So I'm proud to know that someone stood on the table for me. And people back in my hometown always thought I could play pro football. I had some adversities, but because people believed in me, I always worked hard. So in terms of coaching, the thing that I'm most proud of is to be able to try to get everything out of everybody that I've coached for the most part. Not look at a guy where he's drafted, but look at the body of work that he puts in and give him an opportunity.
I'm actually old enough. I remember you as a player. You were fearless as a returner. Why did you hate fair catches so much? What did you have against them?
I hated fair catches because Otis Anderson was a starting running back. Willard Harrell was number 2, so I wasn't getting no reps. I wasn't going to fair catch anything. Now, Chuck Banker was the special teams coach. I thought I was a running back. I was screwing around in practice, really wasn't concentrating on catching punts. He called me into my office and said, Stump, unless you want to take your little skinny ass back to Kingsland, Georgia, you better catch these punts because you have no chance. You have absolutely no chance of making this team as a running back. You know, back in the day in 81, pretty much all the guys that were on the team the year before, unless something just crucial happened or you was a first or second round draft pick, you probably weren't going to make the team. The coaches were fine with the group that they wanted. They didn't want to bring new guys in for the most part. The running back coach name was it's escaping my mind right now.
That's okay.
Dick Jameson. Dick Jameson was a running back coach. He was a big time lover of Otis Anderson and everybody else. He hated me. If it wasn't for Otis, I never would have even gotten an opportunity to play running back. Wow. Of course, Dick Jameson came on to love me. He was a heck of a running back coach. But it was just like those guys, they wanted who they had the years prior. There was no such thing as free agency or anything in that. So I had to learn to catch punts and return kickoffs. I wasn't trying to fair catch anything.
Stump, I want to ask you about Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford, to me, this is a guy that in college he came out of the spread. And then when I watched him 2 years ago, some of his best plays happened when you was in shotgun, and then this year he was able to break some long runs when he was in the out of shotgun formation and things like that. Do you think he's better served as a spread back, or do you think he can pick up the under center, I formation type things as well?
Yeah, I think Jerome can do anything he wants to do for the most part. Jerome started at Alabama, and Nick is a quiet guy. Jerome is even quieter than Nick. Okay, so you have to show these guys some love. But I think Jerome will try to do anything that he possibly can. Deuce is a hell of a coach. He will get everything out of Jerome that Jerome has. As a matter of fact, Jerome averaged over 5 yards a carry this past season with Deuce as his running back coach. So you got a great damn running back coach there, and I think you got a running back that can be awesome. But again, it all boils down to that offensive line. In this game, those guys have to be able to run block. They also have to be able to pass block. But what they have to be able to do is have some time together and be able to function in that scheme that the offensive line coach is going to have those guys executing.
Stump, where did it go wrong for Deshaun? Why didn't this work?
Well, first of all, you cannot take a person back to some place that they never been. But you can take a person back to some place that they've been. What Kevin failed to do was be the best that he could be. Okay. Kevin has been successful with all types of quarterbacks because he called the same system for all types of quarterbacks. The system was the same, except for Deshaun. He tried to do something to satisfy Deshaun. All Deshaun wanted Kevin to do was to be Kevin and allow him to be Deshaun. And I Kevin can't match Deshaun's skill set. Andy Reid cannot match Patrick Holmes' skill set. All Andy does was call the system that he's always allowed and just relish seeing the things that Patrick was able to do. Deshaun led the league in passing, but all Kevin needed to do was call the system that he operated with Baker and the other guys and not treat Deshaun like he was special, but just appreciate the fact that he's special.
So he changed the system or he didn't change the system?
He changed the system more so to try to fit a mastermind towards Deshaun. But that wasn't a thing to do because that didn't make Kevin the best play caller that he could be. It was just like when they allowed Ken Dorsey to call plays for Jacoby. Well, you can say that's Ken Dorsey's system, but Ken Dorsey didn't get an opportunity to call the plays for Deshaun in any games that mattered. So you can't judge Ken Dorsey by the things that Jameis Winston did because everybody knows that Jameis is going to throw interceptions. I mean, that's history. But Jameis was also able to put up big numbers. Deshaun never had the opportunity to play a game with Ken calling plays for him.
With that being said, you look back at the last couple of seasons. You mentioned Baker Mayfield and how the offense was when he was here. And it was a lot more play action. There's no doubt about that. The offense, to me, was at its best at times when Joe Flacco was playing quarterback for the Browns. It seemed like they got the ball down the field. There was a lot of play action. The running game got going a little bit more as well. With that being said, is there a certain quarterback that they should target? Not necessarily you don't have to go into the player themselves unless you'd like to, but I mean, is there a certain prototype, I guess, to play quarterback under Kevin Stefanski?
Listen, for me, there's only one thing for me because first of all, you're looking for a long-term quarterback. All right.
Right.
But you have to get offensive linemen because they don't have offensive linemen. For me, the quarterback was Joe Flacco. Even to this day, the quarterback that I would bring back will be Joe Flacco because I know I'm gonna get a quarterback and I'm gonna try to steer him to become the quarterback of the future. But I can win some games right now with Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco would make Joe Patonio think about coming back. Joe Flacco will put a smile on David and Njoku's face. He would even put a smile on Nick Chubb's face. I mean, Joe Flacco lifted everybody. Me as a coach, I felt so much better when Joe Flacco came in and took over because he was just a pro. Those younger guys, DTR, started watching the footwork of Joe Flacco. All those guys, Joe had the attention of. And I think Joe can come in and because of his size, he's a physical guy. He threw the ball extremely well. Even he said he was surprised that the Browns didn't offer him an opportunity to come back and play for him. He would not have had a problem sitting behind Deshaun because the past, unfortunately, repeated itself, and he would have been prepared to play in case Deshaun didn't get hurt, in case Deshaun got hurt, but he was also been a great leader in case Deshaun didn't get hurt.
Stump, you talk about bringing Joe Flacco back last year, and a lot of people was, perplexed to why they didn't bring him back, and a lot of people came up with the assumption that, you can't have a guy with that much success be behind a guy that you're paying a lot of money to, because if things go bad, it could split the locker room in half. Do you agree with that sentiment?
No, I don't agree with that sentiment for the fact I know the locker room. I know those guys. There were some great character guys on that football team, and all they did was pull for whoever was playing, offense, defense, and special teams. You didn't see any greedy guys. Guys, for the most part, they did their part. I was disappointed that we didn't keep Donovan People-Jones, because when we made that trade for Elijah, Donovan actually had more yardage and better stats than Elijah had, and Donovan did everything. He was that dog. He was the guy that would go in there for the most part and get blocks on the linebackers, do things of that nature. He was a 6th-round draft pick. Schwartz was a 3rd-round draft pick. You got to know when you hit a home run. You know, you don't have to run around the bases. You can trot. And we didn't see Donovan as a home run, but he was. I mean, he made a big play there in Cincinnati to win a game his rookie year. His yards and his catches constantly went up, and he was a guy that we didn't make the number 1 receiver in any pass routes. He got junk yardage. In his 3rd year, he had over 800 yards receiving, and he also returned a punt for a touchdown, but we threw him to the side.
Stump, what needs to happen for this regime, for Andrew Berry, for Kevin Stefanski, to have success in Cleveland, sustained success in Cleveland?
Well, Andrew needs to learn from his brother. I mean, they did a hell of a job in Philadelphia. You don't want to repeat the mistakes that you've had, and you want to try to emulate some things that successful people have. For Kevin, he just need to be Kevin. He don't need to try to match wits with no quarterback skill set. He shouldn't have to learn a new playbook. His system that he had in Minnesota was good enough. I mean, he brought Case Keenum with him to Cleveland, and we played Baker Mayfield with every injury that he had. It took 4 interceptions, and we were still in the playoff hunt when we went to Green Bay.
Green Bay, yeah.
Baker was away from the team for about 7 or 8 days. They flew Baker into Green Bay the day of the game to play. When you got backup quarterbacks, that the team really responded. They loved Case Keenum. He had everything. The interest, the players really loved him, you know, and he played for Kevin, but we went with Baker. I mean, you can't continue to make those calls, especially when you're paying a guy at that particular point in time. We was paying Case, I think, $6 million to be the backup. You don't want to pay a backup that kind of money. But if the opportunity arises, now it gives you an opportunity to see why you paid him that type of money. It gives the fans an opportunity to see why you paid him that type of money, because he can lead you to some wins. But we decided to play most of that year with Baker injured instead of allowing Case to go in there and play. And the defense was playing well. Case would have done a hell of a job.
Well, here's how it was explained to me. They had to play Baker because they had to make a decision on his future. A contract was coming up, and they had to decide whether or not to pay him, and they were basically out of time. So I have never been led to believe that that was even really Kevin's decision to play Baker, that went above him all the way to the very top, that Baker had to keep playing.
I don't know whose decision it was, but you cannot make a informed decision on a guy if he's not 100%, or I would say 90%. Baker wasn't even 75%. The guy couldn't step, so that's going to have some, some negative things in terms of his ability to throw the ball accurately. He had a foot injury, he had a rib injury, he had a non-throwing shoulder injury, and he wasn't practicing much. That wasn't fair to the other guys who were out there practicing, busting their butt all day, especially every day, especially the defense, who was playing extremely well, when you got Case that you're paying $6.5 million to, or $6 million to play. Justify that. Whether you give Baker a contract or not, you're not going to evac. And they had already picked up his option year, so you had him for another year.
Stump, one player that, left Cleveland, and obviously I think you had some words for, was Kareem Hunt. Obviously he went to the Chiefs this year and had a pretty successful year. What happened with the relationship with you and Kareem Hunt, that went sour?
Well, Kareem, that I believe haven't gotten the best of his ability. I admire the hell out of the skill set that Kareem has. The only thing I needed to do with Kareem was to get him to press the run tracks. Okay, he didn't need to be physical all the time. He's a physical runner, but that does not allow him to average over 5 yards a carry. Right now, if you're not averaging 5 yards a carry for the most part in the league, you're not really doing a hell of a lot. If you got a good offensive line, all right. That was my only deal with Kareem, and Kareem didn't totally buy into what we were doing in Cleveland. Kareem always talked about what they did in Kansas City. That's where he wanted to be, but he wasn't. He was in Cleveland, and
He
all
talked
I
openly
tried to
about
do
that?
was,
Did he talk openly about wanting to be in Kansas City?
I mean, he talked about the way they did things in Kansas City. When we putting game plans in, I don't need to hear that. what I need for you to learn is how we're doing it here in Cleveland. We're not going to adjust, and a lot of the stuff was the same stuff. But if everybody is wrong and on the same page, you can make it right. Mm-hmm. But if we got 10 guys on one page and one guy on another, that's not going to work. But Kareem still did not. I wanted to separate myself from all the other coaches that Kareem had. Pop Warner, college, high school, and the NFL. Because when I watch video of Kareem, all of those guys could have gotten more out of him. I don't think any of us got the best out of Kareem. But now I think age may have gotten the best of him because he had an opportunity to start there in Kansas City, and he still, unfortunately, didn't average. Well, he averaged less than 4 yards a carry this year.
Stump, it's so rare for a running back to be in his prime, into his 30s, especially nowadays. But you saw what Derrick Henry was able to do this season with the Baltimore Ravens after a long career in Tennessee. He's 31 years old. He nearly rushes for 2,000 yards, over 1,900 this year. Had never even come close to that in his previous seasons with Tennessee. I mean, this guy is unbelievable. He seems like he's getting better now that he's gone to Baltimore. Like, can he do it again next year at age 32?
Well, he had a couple 2,000-yard rushing seasons in Tennessee.
Excuse me, sorry.
But,
he did. He had a 2,000-yard season.
Yeah,
My bad.
yeah, it's no big deal.
But it was years ago.
Right. Exactly, you're right. But the deal is, he had a hell of an offensive line also in Tennessee. I mean, in Baltimore. He didn't change the things that he did. He just got with a better offensive line this past year. Same thing with Saquon. He got with a better offensive line this past year. And I think hopefully the offensive line coach and the players that they have there in Cleveland, hopefully most of those guys will be able to get some work in sooner than they did before they had to actually play a regular season game. And they'll be able to pick up the system and do what the coach want them to do.
Stump, with the number 2 pick, if you was the Cleveland Browns, who would you take with the number 2 pick in this year's draft?
Well, I would have to try to get offensive linemen. I mean, if there's a great offensive lineman, I would have to try to get him. I would have to try to use Flacco. Now, the only thing would change my mind would be if Travis Hunter was there, because you can use this cat now as a receiver. He don't have to play both sides the entire time, and you can also with the corners that they have, I think you can use him to play corner. I could start him as a corner, and I can have some stuff for him as a receiver. You got Jared Jeudy, and they're going to have somebody else. So with his speed and his love for the game, uh, I would have a hard time passing him up if I didn't get an offensive lineman that I know can come in and wreak havoc. Just like Tristan's Worth when Tampa took him. I mean, you need that guy. The guy's been in the Pro Bowl every year, been an All Pro and everything down there in Tampa. You got to have some offensive linemen because if you don't, it doesn't matter who you take as a running back. It doesn't matter who you take as a passer. You're going to have problems. The thing Joe and Flacco and Deshaun both shared skill set, they could break some tackles and they can get the ball off. And unfortunately, that's not really what you want. You want some offensive linemen that can hold up and allow those guys to pass the ball and allow your runner to at least get started.
You know DeJuan Jones, you know Jed Wills. How concerned should Browns fans be with the left tackle spot right now, where things stand?
Well, they should be concerned because they go to the games, they watch the games. DeJuan, his weakness is that he's a big guy. He's too big, actually.
Yeah.
You see guys take advantage of him because they can bend around the corner. And he hasn't been able to stop that. He was better on the left side, but that's DeJuan's biggest problem. He's got long arms, but those guys they tend to beat him on the edge, and now they're forcing the quarterback to step up in the pocket. And if you play against a team that's got that solid inside two inside tackles, you're going to have a problem. You got to be able to step up. In the early games, that's what teams were doing. They were rushing the Browns from both edges, forcing the quarterbacks to step up. Hell, I think Deshaun was sacked 31 times or more before he left with an injury. And so they have to be able to fix that offensive line.
Do you believe the Browns will ever get it right?
Well, what I do know is that the Haslams, they do everything in their power to try to get it right. Anything a player wants in terms of equipment or something for their body, pool, whatever it takes for them to be successful, the Haslams, they go out and they try to do everything that they possibly can do. I would hope and pray they would get it right because I know those players, they work incredibly hard. I don't think I've ever been around a group of players that, for the most part, just appreciated the work that they got against one another, that offensive line against that defensive line when they had Coach Callahan as the offensive line coach and Joe Woods or Coach Schwartz as the defensive coordinator. Those guys put in work, so they respected one another. And, so I hope they can get it right.
Stump, we'll get you out on this one right here. This offseason obviously been kind of derailed because Myles Garrett has requested a trade. What was your reaction to that, and what do you think? You think they should go ahead and trade him, or you think they should try to find a way to keep him in Cleveland?
I wasn't surprised that he asked for a trade. Okay, first of all, when those players walked back into that locker room or into that meeting room for the first time, and they saw all the new offensive coaches, they had to be shaking their head because they worked. We had just unfortunately lost the first playoff game to the Texans. And now all of a sudden you come back and you got a whole new group of coaches, and that wasn't right. You got injured players, and you got new coaches. You got to learn a new scheme. That wasn't gonna work. I don't know how you figured that would work. There's just no way in hell that was going to work because those guys didn't have a chance to pick up the scheme. And those guys had a relationship. All of those guys, they worked incredibly hard. They would have loved to have run it back with Coach Callahan at least. You don't allow Coach Callahan to go anywhere unless unless you get some draft picks for him. And that was done by Sean Payton. There's an example where you could have gotten draft picks for Coach Callahan. You don't just let him go. Even though he may have been unhappy, one thing you know about him, he's going to do 100% of giving effort to make his players as good as they possibly can be. And when every player that Coach Callahan had on that offensive line, they all knew that they could play 2 or 3 different positions, from going to guard Joe out to tackle, or the tackles going to some of them going to play fullback or tight end positions. All those guys would have been prepared for stuff that had already happened, and the Browns would have been much better off. And Alex Van Pelt, I mean, hell, the offensive players loved him, and they had gone to Kevin had been able to be named head coach of the year 2 of the 5 years with AVP as the offensive coordinator, and all of a sudden you make a different move. But that season there was no way the players could do anything different than what was going to happen, and it put a hell of a lot of pressure on the defense because they was on the field a lot, and they got both physical and mentally fatigued because they had some breakdowns in the secondary that was not customary for them the 2 prior seasons with Coach Schwartz.
Stump, we could talk to you for another half hour, but we'll cut you loose. We'll let you go. I appreciate the time, man. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Stump.
Stump Mitchell, former Browns running backs coach, longtime NFL player, coach. Not afraid to say what's on his mind.
No,
I love it. Very candid.
I love the fact that you can tell that he's just a passionate guy about this game, and if he sees BS, he doesn't mind speaking on the stuff that he saw. And it just confirmed a lot of stuff, that a lot of things that we were speculating. How I thought the point which I think a lot of us made after the season, once the whole offensive staff got kind of fired, it was kind of like, all right, it's going to take a while for you. It's very seldom that you get a new offensive staff and boom, they just pop right off. Yeah. I know Baltimore did it last year with Todd Monken, but that's rare. Like, it usually takes a year or 2 for things to click. And then when you factor in the injuries and all these guys missing OTAs and even preseason, they never really got a chance to work together. So that's why we seen the product that we seen.
All right, we're going to bring in Daniel Oyefusi from ESPN, Browns writer, and while we get him set up, you can become a member of Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. $1.99 per month gets you all the loyalty badges, custom emojis, just ridiculous-looking faces of ours, members-only community posts. It'll get you does that get you overtime starters tier? No, it's the next one up that'll get you the overtime segment that we do. $4.99 coaches tier gets you overtime, extra segment that we do. A little bit more relaxed, just screwing around a little bit more. There is no overtime today. There's things that some of us have to get to, so no overtime today.
But you could always like and subscribe, which is free.
You can.
And that goes a very long way.
Discount codes for merchandise, more. We've got newsletters. Sign up today. Mikey.
And they don't have to come to me. We got Daniel on the set. So let's welcome Daniel to the show from ESPN, covers the Browns. Just finished his first year on the beat. So, Daniel, I want to ask you this. We had you in during the season. It was your first year on the Cleveland Browns beat. What you anticipated, better than expected?
Stole my question. I had a spin-off of that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was told to be prepared. I don't think that any of the warning could have properly got me ready for what took place over the last 6-7 months. But it was entertaining for sure.
So what was your
taste, man?
What was your oh shit moment of? This is what they were talking about.
True. Where do we start?
I thought you'd have one come to mind right away, no?
But there were just so many.
Yeah.
Like, there was obviously the first game of the year. And again, we were out there at training camp. We saw, we saw. I mean, like, I didn't want to be the new guy that was kind of raising the alarm.
You don't want to be the one saying the emperor has no clothes because you just got here.
Yeah, I didn't want to be like an alarmist, but you did see that this offense might go through some troubles, but not that bad. So maybe the first game, And then obviously, Deshaun goes down, and then there's that brief spark of hope when Jameis comes in and he upsets the Browns. Upsets the Ravens and the Steelers. And then we get to QB 40 by the end of the year, and you're just like, yeah, okay, this is what it is.
So where are you at now with the whole number 2 pick? Where? Because everybody's you see the Shedeur's recruiting Cleveland, which is
he?
Yeah.
Or is he? I don't know. I feel like he's trolling a little bit.
You think he trolling?
Do y'all play Madden?
Yeah.
You play with the Browns?
They're terrible.
Yeah, they're terrible.
You play with the
I have played with them. I don't choose to play with them.
That's what I'm saying. Like no disrespect, but I don't choose to play the Browns on Madden. Like if I'm doing my career and I want to start at quarterback, I'm gonna go to the Browns, but I'm not picking the I thought that was trolling. It's almost like a little too much smoke, to be honest.
But isn't he just trying to go 2?
Why does it matter?
I agree with you.
I agree with
that. I agree with that, but I think guys want to go as high as, and if he knows he's not going 1, he wants to go 2. I would rather go fit than spot.
And that's what I'm thinking as well. So it's like, if you go 2, and he alluded to that as well, where he was like, "Why? I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter to me if I don't go 1, because it might not be the best fit." He said that on Radio Row. He was like, "I might go 1, but it's not the best fit. I might go 2, but it's not the best fit. I might go 3. I might go 6." So when he's talking about, I know there's a lot of smoke because of the comments that Andrew Berry has made about not being worried about Deion's influence, and Shedeur kind of joking around about this stuff. But I think it's all just kind of just entertainment and filling the void right now.
I can't keep up with it all, if I'm being totally honest, because we've shown the tweet. Deion tweeted in 2018, "I don't let anybody go to Cleveland."
Yeah,
and he said on multiple interviews prior to more recently, like, "Yeah, I'm going to be involved. It's my son, of course. It's my son. I'm going to make sure that he winds up in a good." And now all of a sudden they're openly campaigning and maybe trolling, but still mentioning. It just feels to me like they've been talking out of both sides of their mouth.
It does feel like that. And again, we're still so far away. Obviously he talked about having his first meeting, his first pre-30 visit with the Browns. Like, does that really mean anything? I mean, he's going to visit all these teams that need quarterbacks. So it just so happens that it's Cleveland first. Maybe that's a scheduling thing. So I don't want to make too much of it, but it does make for a lot of fun on social media.
Dan, do you think that there is one quarterback in this draft that the Browns are targeting?
I don't know for sure. Obviously, when you're around the draft season, you get a lot of smoke screens. You get a lot of people kind of, a lot of subterfuge, if I'm pronouncing it right. But the general consensus is what we've been hearing, that these 2 quarterbacks, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, wouldn't necessarily be in that same tier as maybe the tier 1 of last year when we're talking about Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May. I've talked to scouts as well that have said that they'd be, this year's top of the quarterback class would be compared more to Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy, and really Bo Nix, who went 12 and was a 6th quarterback. But the way I feel about it is, I'll start here. I feel like the Browns' clearest and most feasible way out of this kind of quarterback mess is to draft a quarterback and develop them. So if there is a guy at 2 that you feel confident in, I don't see any difference taking the guy that you feel confident in at 2 as opposed to 10 or 12. But I will say that if you are not sold on the guy, then you can't do it. If there's not complete buy-in from ownership, from the front office, from the coaching staff, about doing the best to take that player and build an infrastructure around him that brings the best out of that player. If there's people on, that if there's a faction or a group that's nah, I'm not with it. I don't think that you can go that route. I would take a quarterback at 2 if you feel pretty good about it. I understand that it might not be the best player available, but the way these boards are set up anyway is it's best player available, but it's also by need, so factored in need. So the way that it was described to me is, let's say cornerback, it was the explanation that was given to me was a couple years ago, maybe last year. Let's say the Browns were taking that down the first round. Their board would have been set up in a way that they probably wouldn't even have been in a position to take a cornerback, because they already had, Denzel, and Martin Emerson and Greg Newsome. So right now, quarterback is obviously the biggest need. These might not be the best players in the draft, but when you factor in need and their talent level, I don't see a problem with taking a quarterback at 2 if you believe in them.
If you sit here and check off, what does Kevin want in a quarterback? I think Shedeur checks quite a few of those boxes. Accurate, good decision maker, doesn't throw with the other team. So I could build a case for Shedeur at 2 easily. And then there's other things about holding the ball too long. Is he too small? Is he trying to play Superman and do things that he gets outside of himself? That was one of the knocks on Baker, was he's trying to play like Mahomes. He's not Mahomes and Josh Allen. He's Baker Mayfield. Where do you fall on that? Do you think Shedeur is the type of quarterback that Kevin would want to run a system?
I think he's the archetype for this offense, and that's why I think that we're seeing a lot of kind of this smoke that, and people talking about Shedeur coming to Cleveland. Like you said, when you talk about the accuracy, when you talk about the anticipation, you talk about playing in structure. That's the main thing, playing in structure and within the confines of the offense. That's what Shedeur does. And he's talked about wanting to do that. I was at the Shrine Bowl out in Texas, and he talked about wanting to be a decision maker, wanting to stay in the pocket and make quick decisions. He's not a perfect prospect by any means. He has held on to the ball a lot. I watched a ton of Colorado football the past 2 years, and he does have a tendency to hold on to the ball. Now, as part of that, like you said, playing Superman because of a less than stellar offensive line, a really unreliable running game. Yeah, but I think that you could also kind of coach some of that stuff, because I think that at its truest sense, like, he wants to play in rhythm, kind of Tom Brady-esque type of play. But then when you look at the lack of maybe upper tier athletic traits, like the arm talent, the arm strength, he's not a Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson type of athlete. Neither really is Cam Ward, but he's a little more athletic and can do more out of structure. But he doesn't have that rocket arm. He's not going to be a guy that you're running him in the zone read 10 times a game because he can do that. So that's what you have to kind of balance. Like, all right, you have a pretty high floor for this guy because he plays the quarterback position so well, but are those athletic traits going to kind of limit the ceiling and maybe cause problems down the road?
All right, Daniel. So the Browns have royally screwed this up with the Deshaun Watson trade. We know that. They put themselves in cap hell. They've got limited resources here. How can they be a playoff team next year? Can they be a playoff team next year? How soon can they compete again?
That's crazy, because I got a story coming out, I think, next week about the 5 things they need.
Tease.
Yeah. It's so funny because I'm sure we're gonna talk about Miles soon. It's so funny to hear Miles say that, like, this team isn't aligned with winning right now, and then you got like every other player on the Browns. It's like, no, like, we can win very, very soon. And most of the guys, Denzel has said it, David Njoku has said it, and now I'm seeing this clip of Greg Newsome. It's like, we just need a healthy starting quarterback play, and obviously you start with that. Like, if you can just get some consistency, you don't need, obviously, like, if you want to be a Super Bowl team, you need elite quarterback play. But I'd say to get back to the playoffs, you need stable, consistent quarterback play. Obviously, we talk about how last year they won 11 games and they made the playoffs. This is an older team. They're a year older now. Guys aren't playing up to the standard that maybe we anticipated. So it's not like you're just going to put a quarterback in and then say, like, let's get it rolling. You do have to upgrade this roster, and I'm very interested to see how they do that. They always know how to maneuver the cap, open cap space, but it's not like they're the Patriots or the Commanders and they're just going to have money to just throw around willy-nilly. So I am very curious to see, like, specifically what positions they target and who they target. Because if it was me, I'd put a lot of resources into the offense. Obviously, they're probably going to sign a veteran quarterback, but not only that, but getting playmakers around the quarterback. I don't know what they're going to do with the offensive line. They've made changes in terms of the coaching staff, and I think that for the most part, like, they regressed as a unit, but I think a lot of that was because of the changes on the offense. And I would think that getting back to a system that they're more familiar with in 2025 would allow them to play a little bit better. Obviously, you could make some additions and some upgrades, but I would really work on getting the quarterback and getting the skill positions up to par.
So what would you brought up Miles. What would you do with Miles? How would you handle that situation? Guy wants out of Cleveland. your DPOY, would you go ahead and, since he's 29, would you be like, all right, give me whatever, or would you try to make it work?
If I'm the Browns, so this is the thing. If I was this regime and I was in the first or second year of this kind of regime, I would be way more open to it than if I was the position that this current regime is right now. Because let's be honest, they're kind of competing for their jobs in 2025. Like they're not going to survive another 3-win season. Financially, it just makes it really tough to trade Miles like until June 1st. Because the way that the dead cap is going to be split up, I just kind of move his business as usual. And if Miles wants to, hold out, he said that he's willing to do whatever to get out of Cleveland. Okay, like do what you got to do then. And then if we got to get to that point, we'll handle it now. But I'd operate as business as usual, and just kind of go take on the offseason. No, as if he didn't make the request.
What is this team's biggest need outside of quarterback?
That's a good question. It's like where?
I know, right?
Yeah, I talked to somebody in the organization, and I was like, what would you? I was like, outside of quarterback, what would you say? They were like, we're not in a position to say no to any position.
Yeah.
I mean, I really probably.
Okay, so stop right there. We're not in a position to say no to any position, and yet everyone's saying we're a quarterback away. So which is it?
I mean, it's probably somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Like a quarterback.
Because I think it is a total teardown at this point. I think because of age and because of where things are at, realistically speaking, to me, there's a difference in playoff contender and Super Bowl contender. If you're just trying to go to the playoffs, fine. Yeah. If you're trying to win a Super Bowl, this team is not ready. This team's not close. They missed their window. Deshaun cost them the window to be a Super Bowl contender with this group. That's just my opinion, but we're getting off track. So I'll go back to biggest need outside of quarterback, and where do you go from there?
Yeah, it's so tough because I feel like there's no outside of quarterback. There's no glaring need. Like if they tackle. I mean, yeah, but it's like where are you gonna find a quality starting like those? It's kind of like quarterbacks. Like it's not like those guys are just hitting the market. I mean, maybe Ronnie Stanley,
running back.
But I mean, you can get a quality running back in the draft. Like I would say, honestly, I'd like to see them. I feel like every offseason we're talking about this with the Browns, but I'd like to see them go out and get another wide receiver. Obviously, Jerry Jeudy, had a breakout season, and he's going to be in the fold for a little bit. But I'd like to see them pair him up with somebody. I don't know, like a Marquise Brown or a Darius Slayton. Like they're not gonna the wide receiver market in free agency isn't really unless you're maybe trading for a guy. Mm-hmm. The upcoming free agents are either old or injury riddle, but maybe the Browns have been really good on kind of buying low on guys and it being a nice low payoff. So if you can get a Marquise Brown on a 1-year deal, who's a field stretcher, a Darius Slayton who's a really a vertical deep guy, something like that, and then you kind of figure out quarterback and get some consistent play there. You can because we saw when Jameis was in there, Jameis was throwing the ball to the other team a lot, but he was giving his guys opportunities and they were producing.
Yeah. We had Stump on as you were coming in. I'm sure you weren't able to catch any of it. He's very concerned about this offensive line, very concerned about left tackle. And I'm just wondering how wise is it to throw a rookie quarterback into a line? I don't know if Jack Conklin's coming back. He's got no guaranteed money on his deal, right, going forward. DeJuan Jones, Jay saw him at the Sports Awards and said he looked great, which was a relief because I've been saying all along, is DeJuan going to show up at 415 or is he going to show up at 350? I have no idea. Yeah. It's 50-50 to me which one. And if he gets hurt again, which at that size, chances are there's going to be some sort of injury.
And there's a history now too as well. Yeah.
The guards are getting older. Wyatt's had a ton of injuries, ton of calf injuries. Joel at the back. Posick wasn't as good. So across the entire offensive line, you could look at it and go, man, where do you feel good and where do you need? I guess it can. I agree. If I've said all along, if you got the quarterback at 2, take him. If there's a guy there you like, you take him.
Yeah.
But there is a concern about putting a young guy behind an offensive line that I don't think is elite anymore. I don't think it's terrible.
Yeah, it's not what it was maybe 3 years ago or so. I feel a little bit better about the offensive line. If you some of the metrics, some the deeper metrics say that Jack was pretty good. In the second half of the year, we saw what he did against T.J. Watt, not getting a ton of help and really locking him down. It seemed like as he got back from his injuries, he got a little more comfortable. Same thing with White. You know, he had the knee sprain, and he was kind of getting back to form. But if you look at something like the deeper, like ESPN metrics, the run block win rate, the pass block win rate, like they were still very serviceable. Maybe not elite, but very serviceable. And that's why I say, like, all right, they might be a year older, but you get back to a system that they are confident in. They essentially majored in over the first 4 years with Stefanski before this change last year. I feel a little bit better about that. Now, left tackle, that is dicey because you can't count on DeJuan right now just because of the injury history. Like, it is what it is. 2 years in the NFL, 2 years his season ending to injury. But again, like, with only so much room to make changes, to add guys and free agency in the draft, you kind of gotta pick and choose where you're really gonna invest those resources
So
into.
if they took the number 2 pick and they drafted Will Campbell out of LSU, you would say.
I mean, I'll say, all right. You say, all right. Like, so this is my thing, because we go back to quarterback. Like, I understand people saying don't take a quarterback at 2, but my response to that is who's playing quarterback now?
Yeah.
I keep on saying that. And I understand that these might not be perfect prospects, but if you don't figure out quarterback, I keep on saying it, like, this offseason is quarterback or bust.
Right.
You got to find some type of answer or solution to the quarterback position in 2025.
There's no way they go through next season without drafting a quarterback of the future, right?
Oh, I would think
take
2. They're so
Yeah,
bad
oh,
at
yeah,
this.
I'm
Take
cool with
2.
that. I'm cool
I
with
would
that.
I would think at some point they take a quarterback, but it's like most times, like, if you look at, obviously, like, you have the Jalen Hurts and you have the Dak, you know, but
Purdy.
most times, like, you're taking a quarterback in the first round and usually at the top of the first round. So it's like you almost have to temper expectations if you take a guy out of round 1. Maybe, you know, if you take a guy round 3, round 4, like, yeah, he might be a good developmental guy, but it's usually like you're taking a guy at quarterback at the top of the draft because he is the most pro-ready guy. He's the most high-ceiling guy. He has the most tools, and you work with that. And again, the top of this draft isn't perfect. Like, again, we all agree on that. But if you feel pretty good, and, you know, just my non-expert opinion, like, I feel pretty good on Shedeur, I say you take a quarterback and you kind of roll the dice. Especially, like, this is a make or break year, honestly, for this regime.
Daniel, if they don't have at the end of the year a quarterback they feel like they can go with for the upcoming foreseeable future,
They're fired.
and yeah, they're going to be gone, right?
They're fired.
I mean, if they win 3 games again next
They're
year,
fired.
and they
They're
don't
not making
have,
it through the
have
year.
a quarterback,
They're not making it through the year if they make if they're on pace to win 3
so
games.
why the hell would they not just say, I don't give a rip who the quarterback is. Whoever the best guy is you think you have to have, like, there's one guy, take him at 2. I don't care. Take Jackson Dart at 2. Take Miller. I don't really care.
I guess because
Dylan
you can't.
Because if they get it wrong, they're gone.
That's true. That's
there's
true.
There's literally, it's house money.
Yeah.
That's true. But if you talk to, I'm sure if you asked Andrew Berry, he would say, like, you know, we still got to stick to a process.
Yeah.
No matter, like, you don't want to
Process these.
You don't want to make hasty decisions just off of, you know, what your perceived job security may be, and I get that. But again, I go back to it. The probably quickest way out of this is to draft a quarterback that outperforms his rookie contract and allows you to feel good about having the most important position on the field locked in at a very low price. And, you know, you're at 2, you got that option, you know.
McNuggets got something for you.
So, Daniel, I've worked in a
Sick
bunch
of
of
him throwing
different
his hand
newsrooms,
up.
including here, and every place you work, you have a group chat. And I'm not quite sure ESPN's probably too big to have a 500-person group chat, but I know at The Athletic and Jason, they have a Slack
They got
channel.
slacks. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, Daniel, when the Browns come up in the ESPN group chat, what's the reaction typically to some of the stuff involving the team you cover?
A lot of laughing emojis, a lot of question marks. Yeah. I feel like you're almost like not surprised anymore. Like, I think I was like almost a little bit surprised like for half the season, and I'm like stuff pops up and I'm like, oh, this is what to expect. Like, I'm not gonna lie, the Miles news kind of caught me off guard.
You thought with the request?
The request caught me off guard.
Really?
Well, the request caught me off guard because truthfully, I feel like some of the messaging from Miles hasn't been consistent.
That's fair.
That's fair, but like after his last game,
No. I mean, yes.
I said
but-
he gone.
Yeah, but I remember asking Miles, because working on a story with Jeremy Fowler, and I asked Miles, Because leading up to like halfway through the year, he was saying, I want to retire here, I want to be here. So I asked him, why do you have so much faith in the current regime, specifically Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry? And he spoke about that, and he said, as long as they're here making the decisions, I want to be here. And I'm like, cool. 1 week later, he's asked about wanting to hear the offseason plans, and it was a completely different tune. And he was like, yeah, I want to be loyal to this team, but I don't want to go through a rebuild. And that's the first time I was kind of like,
You see what he's saying right now?
interesting.
Media member.
What?
That's because he's a media guy. That's why the answers. If I would have asked Miles, he would have straight up said, "Yeah, I'm cool. But see, because he's with the media,
This guy thinks he's
I'm telling you,
he's not a media member
he
anymore. 'cause he's a
just
former
literally
player.
confirmed what I'll be saying.
So there was a little bit of kind of talking out of both sides of the mouth, and
Yes.
then there was the Hard Knocks clip where he's like doing a sit down interview, and he says, talking to AB, we're closer than people might think we are. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, like he might be here to stay. And then obviously there was that came, I don't remember if that came after or before the comments that he made after the final game of the year, where he said, well, something's gonna happen.
Right.
So again,
He's all over the place.
So the messaging has been a little kind
That's
of
fair.
back and forth. So that's why it caught me by surprise a little bit. But obviously, at some point he had a discussion with the higher ups, and whatever they say, he didn't like it. Yeah.
I just remembered, you're a Baltimore kid, right? Grew up in Baltimore, covered the Ravens.
Yeah.
What do you think of Justin Tugger?
Oh man.
Speaking of like catching you off guard,
I was shocked. Like that's a guy that is he's almost like a Baltimore legend. Like I get my hair cut and they talking about Justin. He's like, hey, like I saw Justin Tucker at the cigar bar, I saw him on that's how shocking it was, honestly. But it just goes to show, we don't know these people,
What is the reaction in Baltimore right now to what's going on?
Obviously, there's a lot of disappointment. Not only with the player over these allegations, but with the team, because this is stuff that is dating to like his first 4 or 5 years in the NFL. And the report, the very well reported piece by the Baltimore Banner, the local outlet down over there, it seems like some of this was at some point brought to the attention of the team, and now is it 16 allegations? Like it's
a lot. I mean,
it's double-digit allegations.
Do you think that's the reason he's performed poorly? Is it on his mind? I mean,
some people brought that up. Some people brought that up.
I mean, if you watch the guy play, he just looks like a different player.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like I was watching from afar this year when those struggles. People like up close kind of brought that. Like it seemed like he had a lot kind of mentally weighing on him, just kind of the look in his eyes and whatnot. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that at all.
Sorry to corner you there. Well, that was this guy.
Now you
Yeah, I
go.
was about to say that.
Bring it up. He covered the team. He covers the division.
That was a shock. That
That's
was a
messed
surprise.
up, though. That's one of them subjects,
We had to deal with it for a year and a half.
Fair enough.
I
And
can't
so is
ask
he-
him
True
one question
story.
about it.
It actually was mostly done by
Point
the time Daniel got
concern.
here. He avoided that whole part of the Browns' chaos.
That's a great point.
Yeah, that was a
Before
mess.
Deshaun ever stepped on the field, man, it was like politics.
Yeah.
And you were on one side or the other, and it was really
Still was. First half of the year.
Yeah, true. But I mean, now everyone's realized the guy he's hurt, can't play.
They're all kind of. I think fans. Obviously, the organization is kind of starting to.
Just trying to move on
transition.
from the guy. What? So next year, what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson? Like, is he going to be on the roster?
I mean, he'll be on the roster, but
will they keep him at home? Will they say just stay home?
I mean, he's rehabbing again, so
He's rehabbing here. Will he rehab here?
I'm assuming it's the same thing it was before he retore the ACL. So retore the Achilles. So he was like splitting time between Miami and Cleveland. And
I don't believe anything the Browns say. So
yeah, I mean, the timing,
just for what
the
it's worth.
timing of it all was very weird, and because I don't know, I started getting conspiracy theory vibes, but I did talk to people in the organization. They were like, nah, because the timing of it was weird because they restructured the deal, or they kind of redid the deal or whatever, late December, a couple of days before the new year, and everyone was kind of like, well, what did they do to the contract? Why did they need to do this to the contract? And then 2 weeks later, it's like, oh, by the way, he's got this injury that's going to keep him out for another year probably. So I don't know. It was all kind of weird, but yeah, I mean, he'll be rehabbing. He'll probably be on PUP, I guess.
Would you be surprised if he ever takes a snap in the league again? I would. I personally would. I mean, if he's going to be out for another year.
You'd be surprised if he ever take another snap.
I would.
I would not, actually.
Who's going to take a chance on him?
Yeah, I mean,
with all the baggage,
pick him up?
It's low risk.
But there's so much baggage.
The risk is having him on the roster.
I don't think he'll ever step foot in the Browns building again. I think he's done.
Oh, step foot inside.
I mean, he might
he go rehab.
Yeah, I was going to say,
he didn't rehab here. He didn't rehab here when he was.
He did. He was back and forth. That's what allegedly. Allegedly.
Kevin said he was scooting around.
Allegedly.
He was scooting around.
He wasn't even hardly here with the shoulder a couple years ago.
He was in the stands. In L.A., they was
hardly
in
Cleveland.
He was in the
when he was the future of the position.
He was in,
I mean, maybe it's. I don't think he'll ever be part of this ever again.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll be back to collect his things, but I don't think he'll.
What does he have to gain from ever playing again?
Nothing.
He don't.
No more money.
Just love of the game. Like
what you mean?
Love of the game.
No more money.
You don't. Nobody want to go out on a bad note. The last thing people gonna remember is
carted off the field.
Yeah, and they're also gonna remember all this stuff forever. So what I mean, would you want to go back out there with after the shoulder injury and the Achilles, and you got the bag already? Like, dude, come on, he's not an idiot.
Yeah, I'm going out there.
You're nuts.
Are you kidding me?
We got super chats here, and one of the super chats is actually perfect for Daniel. So Daniel's going to stick around and do super chats with us.
Nice.
We'll save that one for last. First super chat comes from DBDog21, who says, you have to remember that players play differently when they feel they have a chance to win. They never felt that last year, and it showed in the play. Salvatore, the 216, sent us a couple. The last one is the one I want to save for Daniel, but the first one he says is, Steve gave Tyvis his pickled appendix. Be very wary, Tyvis. Never trust him.
I don't. I'm glad y'all finally. Everybody was Team Steve, and y'all see how he do me. So now y'all should slowly understand why I do what I do to Steve. Look, see what I'm saying?
Salvatore also says, does Stipe Miocic get enough love and appreciation from Cleveland fans, given that he's literally the greatest UFC heavyweight champion ever and from the city?
He gets tons of love.
He gets a lot of love.
This is a UFC town. I mean, it's a big deal what he's accomplished.
Where does that stem in from?
What do you mean?
That came out of nowhere.
Yeah, like what did we say? Somebody didn't get love here.
Somebody's very sensitive.
I think he just asked a question. Rubber City says Tyvis is the Cal Ripken Jr. of school attendance.
That's true.
Well done.
Never missing a day.
Yeah.
Baltimore reference as well. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, man. They say the best ability is availability.
Well, you never missed a day. So, and this last one is from Salvatore. Daniel, I want you to enter this first because you and I are in the same boat here. But Salvatore says, Mike, given you're not from Cleveland originally, at what point did you become a Cavs fan, or are you just Cavs fan and covering them became more than just your job? Daniel, you're from Baltimore originally, correct?
Correct.
Stupid.
Explain the difference of covering a team versus being a fan of a team, because sometimes that line gets incredibly blurred. And I do think it's important to distinguish the difference.
Yeah, so I think that when you become a member of the media,
See?
Which you are.
I am not.
You are.
No, I'm not.
But when you become a member of the media, your job is to report and cover the team impartially, without any bias, without any extra feelings that will impact your coverage in a way that blurs it. When you're a fan of the team, you can just root for them and and not be objective, But, when you're a journalist, like, your job is to, feed and to inform the readers. And you can't do that if you are impartial, if you're partial in any way. So, a lot of people kind of randomly just assume, like, they say, like, oh, you work for the Browns. I'm like, no, I don't work for the Browns. I work for ESPN covering the Browns. It's a little different.
Wait, what is that supposed to be, Mike?
Do you not beg Jimmy Haslam for raises on every third show?
I'm glad you brought that up. Let me see that camera, Steve. I just, the thing about the Cleveland Browns, what I really love about the Cleveland Browns is the ability to witness talent before it truly blooms.
Giving me a headache.
And you like to sign guys early, give them extensions, and then later on you be like, man, I'm so glad we got on that extension before he really became who he was supposed to be.
They got on that
in the radio industry,
they don't pay that much,
we got this great pregame and postgame analyst. I think he does a pretty darn good job. Fans enjoy listening to him. think we should
Talk about
renegotiate his contract.
Good Lord.
Just a couple more dollars, not a lot. You know, I'm not. It's not like I'm trying to get $5,000 or more or something like that. You know, just a couple more dollars.
Super chat.
Done with you.
I am not a journalist in the realm that Daniel is. I give opinions. It's an opinion-based show. I want the Cavs to win because it's good for business. I've gotten to know some of the guys. I think they're good dudes. I enjoy our conversations with them. But Jason, are you a diehard Cavs fan at this point? You're dead inside.
I'm dead inside.
Dang.
It's funny. People say you're not a fan. I'm like, thank you for noticing. I appreciate the compliment. You're right. I'm not.
Do you have fans
I want the
of any of
Cavs to win
Cleveland
because it's
teams?
good for business.
What's that?
Guardians are you fans, aren't
I'm not a fan of any team anymore. Baseball, I
That's
held out
funny
the longest.
because that's
with
how I
baseball.
am with the NFL. Not a fan of any team. I just
No.
tell the spec, call it what I see.
Yeah.
We got to
Just
wrap
tell
up.
her.
There's no overtime today because I got to go tape something upstairs. We got a Cavs breakdown coming out later today. That's what I'm going to go tape. We'll see you tomorrow on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
you?
Peace.